My name is Tina S. Beavers. I am 41 years old, and the night my husband laughed while confessing he married someone else was the night I stopped being ordinary. I work as a civil litigation attorney in Phoenix. My job is basically untangling messes other people create. Contracts, liability disputes, fraud claims. I spend my days dissecting timelines and figuring out where someone crossed the line. I never expected I'd be doing that in my own kitchen. My husband, Mason, is 38. We've been married 9 years, together 12. No kids by choice. We own our home jointly, shared finances, shared credit cards, very adult, very integrated lives. Or at least I thought so. Mason has always been intense. He thrives on attention. He likes drama as long as he's controlling it. Arguments for him aren't about resolution, they're about winning. He can be charming in public and cutting in private. I'd learned to pick my battles, to step around his moods like they were furniture I couldn't move. 3 weeks ago, he told me he needed a reset weekend in Las Vegas. His college friend Tyler was turning 40. Big milestone birthday, the kind of excuse people use when they want permission to be reckless. I didn't object. We both travel separately sometimes, healthy space and all that. He left on a Friday morning. By Friday night, his texts were already short and slightly hostile. You don't need to check on me every hour. I'd sent 2 texts, one asking if he landed safely, one asking how dinner was. Saturday, radio silence. No calls, no messages. His social media story showed champagne bottles and nightclub lighting, standard Vegas chaos. Sunday morning, nothing again. He came home Sunday evening. I knew something was off immediately. Not guilt, not shame, excitement, like someone who just pulled off a stunt and couldn't wait to reveal it. He dropped his suitcase in the hallway, walked into the kitchen where I was making coffee, and leaned against the counter with that smirk he uses when he's about to say something designed to provoke. You're not going to believe what happened. That's never a good opening sentence. I didn't react. I didn't ask him to sit down. I didn't chase the story. I just looked at him and waited. He folded his arms, studied me for a beat, and then said it casually. So I got really drunk and I married someone. Pause. In Vegas. Longer pause. But it's not a big deal. I still love you. He actually rolled his eyes when he said that part, like I was supposed to admire his audacity. I stared at him for maybe 5 seconds. Then I said one word. Who? He laughed. Relax, Tina. It's just Vegas. People do stupid things. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam anything. I just asked one question. Did you obtain a marriage license? His smirk faltered, and that's when I realized something important. He thought this was drama. I saw criminal liability. He hesitated just long enough for me to notice. It was subtle. A flicker in his eyes, a micro recalculation. It was just one of those Elvis Chapel things, he said quickly. Don't start interrogating me like I'm on the stand. I am a litigator, I replied evenly. I don't interrogate, I clarify. He rolled his eyes again. God, you're so dramatic. It was funny. Everyone was doing it. Tyler said it would make the trip legendary. Everyone! He waved a dismissive hand. Not everyone, but people do this all the time. It's Vegas. It doesn't count. I set my coffee mug down very carefully. Did you sign paperwork? He shifted his weight. There was paperwork, but I was drunk. That's not what I asked. He snapped, suddenly irritated that the joke wasn't landing. Why are you acting like I committed a felony? Because you might have. Silence. He stared at me like I'd insulted him instead of calmly stating a fact. You're seriously overreacting. It's not real. It's just a Vegas thing. You can annul it, or whatever. I Googled it on the flight home. You Googled it? Yes, Tina, I'm not an idiot. I didn't respond to that. I kept my eyes on his face. Who is she? He exhaled like I was exhausting him. Some woman named Riley from Colorado. She was there for a bachelorette thing. We all went out. We were hammered. It just happened. Just happened. Like tripping over a curb. I asked the question I didn't want to ask because in my world, details decide outcomes. Did you consummate the marriage? His face hardened immediately. That's disgusting. Why would you even ask that? Because it affects annulment grounds. He scoffed. God, you are unbelievable. I didn't raise my voice. You are legally married to me, Mason. He folded his arms defensively. And I still am. No. He blinked. If what you're saying is true and you obtained a valid Nevada marriage license, you are now married to 2 people. He laughed, but it was thinner this time. That's not how that works. That is exactly how that works. His phone buzzed on the counter. He glanced at it. The color drained from his face, just a little. Who is that? I asked. He flipped the phone over. No one. It buzzed again. Then again. I stepped closer, not aggressively, just enough. Mason. He picked it up finally. I saw the name before he could tilt it away. Riley Vegas. And she was calling. He declined the call immediately. My eyes stayed on his face, not the phone. She probably just wants to make sure I got home safe, he said too quickly. You don't usually check on strangers you marry in passing. He bristled. Stop saying it like that. Like what? Like I did something permanent. I didn't answer him. I held out my hand. Give me the phone. He clutched it tighter. No, you don't get to go through my stuff. This isn't your stuff, I said, calm as a scalpel. This is evidence of a legal issue. His eyes flashed. God, you are so dramatic. It was a joke, a stupid joke. Then why is she calling? As if summoned by the tension, the phone buzzed again. Riley Vegas. This time, he silenced it instead of declining. She's probably freaking out, he muttered. About what? He hesitated again. My stomach tightened, but my voice stayed level. What paperwork, Mason? He paced a step away from me, running a hand through his hair. They did the whole thing. License, witnesses, certificate. It was fast. It's Vegas. They make it easy. So you applied for and received a marriage license? I guess. You signed it? Yes. You had witnesses? Yes. I let a few seconds pass because sometimes silence makes people finally hear themselves. Congratulations, I said quietly. You are legally married to Riley from Colorado. He spun toward me. Stop it. It doesn't mean anything. It means exactly one thing, I said. You committed bigamy. He froze. Don't use that word. That is the word. You're making this bigger than it is. No, I said. The state of Arizona will. His face shifted from defiant to uneasy. It can be annulled eventually. Yes, I said. But until then, you are simultaneously married to two people. His phone buzzed again. This time a text preview lit up the screen before he could flip it over. Riley, we need to talk about what this means. He inhaled sharply. She's overthinking it. Or she's realizing she's legally married to someone who already had a wife. His shoulders tensed. It was drunk. It shouldn't count. Drunkenness is not a defense to bigamy. He stared at me like he was waiting for me to soften. Instead, I walked to my desk drawer in the adjacent room. What are you doing? He asked sharply. I took out my phone charger and plugged my phone into the wall. I'm calling the police. His entire body stiffened. You would not dare. I looked at him. You didn't dare not to marry someone else. He laughed nervously. You're bluffing. I'm not. I dialed the non-emergency number, and that's when Riley called again. This time, he answered. He answered on speaker before I could say anything. A woman's voice came through loud and panicked. Mason, what the hell is going on? My friend just looked this up. You said you were separated. His eyes snapped to me. I never said that, he hissed into the phone. You told me you were basically divorced, she shot back. I watched him carefully, because this wasn't just a mistake anymore. This was a story he'd been telling. I said we were having issues, he snapped. That's not the same thing. My thumb hovered over the call screen. Riley continued, voice rising. The license went through. My friend checked the county database. It's filed. We're legally married. He swallowed. It can be annulled. Yeah, but you didn't tell me you were still married, she said, and her voice cracked on the last word like she finally understood the size of the trap. I stepped closer so my voice would carry. He is. There was a pause on the other end. Who's that? That's my wife, Mason said quickly. Too quick, like he could outrun the truth if he said it first. You're what? Riley whispered. I took the phone gently from his hand before he could pull away. Riley, I'm Tina. I'm the lawful spouse. Who is this? There was a long exhale. I didn't know he was fully married, she said. He said it was complicated. It's not complicated, I replied. It's criminal. Mason lunged for the phone. Stop escalating. I moved it just out of reach. Riley, I assume you obtained a Nevada marriage license and signed it voluntarily. Yes, she said. We both did. And did you consummate? There was a hesitation. Yes. Mason's face went red. Why are you saying that like that? Because it matters. Riley cursed under her breath. Look, I didn't sign up for this. I thought he was single, or basically single. He told me you two were emotionally done. Emotionally done does not dissolve a marriage, I said. She went quiet. Then she added something that made everything worse. The certificate's already posted. My aunt saw it online. Mason's head whipped toward the speaker like he could glare through a phone. You posted it. It auto-tagged when the chapel uploaded it, Riley said quickly. It's public. My phone was still in my other hand. I pressed call on the non-emergency line. Mason stared at me in disbelief. You are not calling the police over this. I am reporting a felony. He laughed, but it cracked in the middle. You'd send your own husband to jail. I looked at him calmly. You made yourself someone else's husband. A dispatcher picked up. Phoenix Police Department, non-emergency. How can I assist you? And through the speaker, Riley's voice said one more thing before I ended the call with her. Wait, she said, frightened. Now, if he gets arrested, do I need a lawyer too? The dispatcher's voice was calm, neutral, professional. Ma'am, can you explain the situation? Yes, I said evenly. My husband is legally married to me in the state of Arizona. This weekend, he obtained a valid marriage license in Nevada and married another woman. The certificate has been filed and posted publicly. Mason stared at me like I had detonated something. You are insane, he hissed, but his voice didn't carry the way it used to. The dispatcher asked for our address. I gave it. Then she asked if anyone was in immediate danger. No, I said, but this constitutes bigamy under Arizona law. Mason laughed again, brittle this time, like the sound was trying to hold him together. You are really doing this? Yes. He started pacing, hands running through his hair, eyes darting from my phone to the counter to the hallway, like if he moved fast enough, reality would lose him. It can be annulled. I'll fly back. I'll fix it. Why are you acting like this is irreversible? Because until it's annulled, I said, you are legally married to two people. He threw his hands up. So what? We'll fix it Monday. It was Sunday night. I stayed calm. Intent does not negate commission. He glared at me. You don't even care that I still love you. That sentence landed oddly, like a prop dropped at the wrong moment in a play. You love me enough, I said, to tell a stranger you were basically divorced. He opened his mouth, then closed it. That wasn't what I meant. What did you mean? He didn't answer. His phone buzzed again. A new text preview lit the screen before he could flip it over. Riley, do I need bail money? He stared at it like it was written in a foreign language. Bail, he whispered, almost to himself. Then there was a knock at the door. Not loud, not aggressive, just firm. Mason froze. You cannot let them in. I walked toward the door. You married someone else while still legally bound to me. You involved the state. You don't get to control how I respond. I opened the door. 2 officers stood there. Evening, ma'am, one of them said. We received a call regarding a possible bigamy situation. Behind me, Mason's voice cracked. This is ridiculous. One officer stepped inside calmly. The other stayed closer to the doorway, both of them professional in that way that makes a home feel suddenly like a public place. Sir, the officer said, turning to Mason, can you confirm your name? Mason hesitated, eyes flicking to me, like I might rescue him from having to say it out loud. He gave his name. The officer asked a few direct questions. Are you currently legally married? Yes, Mason said through clenched teeth. Did you obtain and sign a marriage license in Nevada this weekend? His eyes flicked to me again. Yes. Did you enter into a second marriage while still legally married in Arizona? Silence, then quietly. Yes. The officer nodded once, not surprised, sad, not judgmental, just logging facts. Sir, I need you to place your hands behind your back. Mason's face went white. You're arresting me. At that exact moment, his phone rang again. Riley. It buzzed across the counter like it was desperate to be seen. He didn't scream. That surprised me. Mason has always been loud when cornered. Sharp, cutting, performative. But standing in our kitchen, hands starting to tremble as the officer reached for cuffs, he looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. This is insane, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. The officer remained calm. Sir, you are being detained while we verify documentation and determine next steps. You have the right to remain silent. His phone kept vibrating against the granite. Riley calling again. The officer glanced at it. Is that the other party? Yes, I said. Mason shot me a glare that could have peeled paint. Don't answer that. The officer picked it up anyway. Hello? A frantic female voice spilled through. Is he there? Is he okay? Do I need to get a lawyer? The officer identified herself. Ma'am, can you confirm your name? There was a pause, then, Riley Carter. Miss Carter, the officer said evenly. Did you enter into a legal marriage with Mason this weekend in Nevada? Yes, Riley said, fast, scared. I didn't know he was still married. That will be relevant, the officer replied. Riley's tone shifted immediately. Wait, am I in trouble? Ma'am, the officer said, still neutral. I recommend you consult an attorney. The call ended. Mason looked like he might faint. He turned his head slightly toward me. You ruined my life, he whispered. I kept my voice even. You altered it. The second officer asked for identification and began taking basic information. Date of birth, place of birth, length of current marriage. When they asked how long we'd been married, Mason hesitated. 9 years, he said quietly. The weight of that seemed to hit him for the first time. 9 years. And 1 weekend in Vegas. The officer explained that charges would be reviewed by the county attorney's office. Depending on jurisdictional interpretation, it could be classified as a felony. Felony, Mason repeated, like he couldn't make his mouth accept it. He looked at me then, not angry, not smug, just raw. "Tina, please," he said, voice shaking. "Tell them I panicked. Tell them I didn't mean it." I met his eyes. Intent doesn't dissolve consequences. His jaw tightened. "You always cared more about being right than being married." That almost made me react. Almost. "No," I said calmly. "I cared about not being humiliated." The officer guided him toward the door. "You'll have an opportunity to contact an attorney." As they stepped outside, his phone buzzed again on the counter, abandoned now, still lighting up the kitchen like a warning. "Riley, please tell me this isn't real." The front door closed behind them. The house went silent. Completely silent. I stood in the kitchen for a long moment, looking at the indentation his suitcase had left in the hallway carpet, like even the floor knew something heavy had been dragged through. An hour later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. It was Mason from the station. "Tina." His voice sounded different. Not defensive. Small. "They said I need bail." I didn't respond immediately. He swallowed. "Riley won't answer now." Of course she wouldn't. "You're my wife," he said quietly, like the words could pull me back into the role he expected. "Not like you treated me," I replied. And then I hung up. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was emotional, because I was thinking. There's a difference. By morning, the county records were already circulating. Nevada filings move fast. The chapel had uploaded the certificate publicly before anyone realized what a mess it created. I received 3 emails before 9 a.m., one from a colleague asking if everything was okay, one from a client who recognized Mason's name, and one from Tyler. Subject line, "You didn't have to ruin everything." I didn't open it. Around 10 a.m., my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but answered. It was Riley. Her voice sounded wrecked. "Tina, what is happening?" "Your husband is in custody pending review," I said evenly. There was a sharp inhale on the other end. "I called a lawyer. They said if he didn't disclose he was married, that changes things for me." "It does." She was quiet for a second. "He told me you two were separated, that you'd been living like roommates for months." "We were not." Another pause. "Did you know he still had his wedding ring on when we did it?" That hit harder than anything else. Not because of the ring, because of the intention behind wearing it. I didn't respond. She kept talking, almost like she needed absolution. "I wouldn't have done it if I knew. I swear, I asked him about his status. He said complicated." "Of course he did." "He just texted me from jail asking for bail money," she added quickly. "I'm not paying it. I'm not tying myself further into this." "Smart," I said. There was another pause. Then she said something that made everything click into place. "He told me you'd forgive him, that you always do." That was it. This wasn't about Vegas. It wasn't about being drunk. It was about a pattern. He pushes, I stabilize. He escalates, I rationalize. He humiliates, I repair. This time I didn't. Riley cleared her throat. "What are you going to do?" "File for divorce." The word felt clean, precise. She was quiet then. Me too. Annulment. We ended the call. An hour later, my phone rang again. This time it was the county holding facility. "Tina, please." Mason started immediately. "Have you retained counsel?" "You don't talk like that," he snapped, then softened instantly. "I'm scared." "That's appropriate." "You can't leave me here." "I can." There was a sharp inhale. "You're enjoying this." "No," I said. "I'm finishing it." His voice cracked for the first time. "I made a mistake." "You made a decision." Silence. Then quieter. "Will you at least come down here?" "No." He started crying then. Not loud, not theatrical, real. For a brief second, I felt something close to doubt. Then I remembered something simple. He didn't hesitate when he signed another woman's name next to his. The line went quiet. Before I could hang up, he whispered something that made everything colder. "Riley said she won't pay bail." Of course she wouldn't. "Tina," he added quickly, "I don't have access to our joint account from here." There it was. Even now, this was transactional. I ended the call. 10 minutes later, my attorney called me back, and the first thing she said was, "You need to freeze every shared asset immediately." I did exactly what she told me. I froze every shared credit line, transferred half of the joint checking into an escrow account, removed Mason as an authorized user on my business card, changed the passwords on everything. Not vindictive, preventative. By noon, Mason had called 4 times from the holding facility. I let it go to voicemail each time. The 5th time I answered. "Tina, what did you do?" "Protected myself." You locked me out of the accounts. Yes. I need bail. That's not my responsibility. You're my wife. You're someone else's husband. The silence on the other end was sharp. The county attorney reviewed the initial report faster than expected, because the marriage certificate was verified, because he knowingly entered a second marriage while legally married. They were considering formal charges. His voice sounded different now, less arrogant, less certain. If this becomes a felony, I could lose my job. You should have thought about that before you signed paperwork in another state. You don't have to push it this far. I didn't push anything, I said. You did. You called the police. Yes. You could have just filed for divorce quietly and let me sort out the vaguest thing on my timeline. His breathing got uneven. You're punishing me. No, the state is responding to you. That seemed to sink in. There was a long pause before he asked something almost childlike. Are you really divorcing me? Yes. Just like that. Just like that. 9 years, he whispered. 9 years and you won't even come see me. 9 years and you didn't hesitate. He started crying again. I don't want to lose you. You already did. The line went quiet. Then he said something that made everything colder. Tyler said this happens all the time, that it's just paperwork, that you'd overreact. I almost laughed. You married someone else while wearing your wedding ring. He whispered. It felt unreal. It's very real. Another silence, then softly. Riley blocked me. Of course she did. The novelty wore off. The adrenaline evaporated. All that was left was paperwork and consequences. I ended the call again. An hour later, my attorney called back. The county attorney was filing preliminary charges pending formal review. And because the certificate was public and because Riley had already contacted counsel, this wasn't going away quietly. That evening, my phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. I answered. It wasn't Mason. It was his mother, and she sounded furious. What have you done to my son? Mason's mother did not bother with hello. What have you done to my son? I kept my tone level. Your son married another woman while still married to me. You called the police. Yes. There was an outraged inhale on the other end. Couples work through things. They don't have each other arrested. Couples don't commit felonies. You're blowing this out of proportion. Am I? Silence for a second. Then the shift. He made a mistake. He was drunk. You know how impulsive he can be. Yes, I said, I do. And you should have protected him. That was interesting. Protected him from what? From himself, she snapped. From embarrassment, from ruining his life. I didn't ruin his life, I replied calmly. He did. Her tone sharpened. You've always been cold, Tina. Always calculating, always right. Maybe if you'd been more emotionally available, he wouldn't have felt the need to. To what? There was a beat of hesitation. To feel wanted. That sentence landed heavier than she intended. He felt wanted enough to marry someone else, I said. You're being vindictive. No, I'm being done. She exhaled sharply. Do you know what this will do to his career? He should have considered that before signing a marriage license in Nevada. You could drop it. I didn't press charges. I reported it. Same thing. No. There was a pause long enough to feel like recalibration. What do you want? That question revealed everything. Not accountability. Negotiation. I want a divorce. That's dramatic. No, I said. It's procedural. Silence. Then she tried a different angle. He's terrified. He's humiliated. He's alone in there. He wasn't alone in Vegas. That shut it down. Her voice hardened again. You think you're winning. This isn't a competition. It is now, she said coldly. No, I replied. It's paperwork. She hung up on me. That night, I received a notification from my attorney. Riley had officially filed for annulment in Nevada, and Mason had requested a public defender. Around 11 p.m., my phone rang again from the holding facility. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times, then I answered. Tina. His voice was exhausted now, not sharp, flat. They said Riley filed an annulment. Yes. You talked to her. Yes. You two compared notes. Yes. There was a long silence. I didn't mean for it to spiral like this, he said quietly. It spiraled the second you signed. He whispered something I almost didn't hear. I thought you'd come get me. There it was again. Not love, not regret, expectation. I spoke carefully. You thought I'd tolerate it. The line went quiet. For the first time since he walked into that kitchen, there was no attitude left. Just consequence. Tomorrow morning, I said, my attorney is filing for divorce. His breathing hitched. You're serious. Yes. And the charges. That's between you and the state. There was another long silence, then softer than I had ever heard him. I didn't think you'd actually leave. That was the truth sitting naked between us. You didn't think I'd choose myself, I replied. He didn't argue. He didn't defend. He didn't deflect. He just exhaled. Tyler said you'd cool off by Monday. It's Monday, I said. The call ended shortly after that. The next morning, everything moved fast. My attorney filed for divorce at 9:02 a.m. By 10:30, the county attorney confirmed they were moving forward with formal bigamy charges pending court review because the Nevada certificate was valid, because he knowingly signed it, because ignorance and alcohol are not defenses. By noon, Mason was released on bond. Not paid by me, not paid by Riley. His parents wired it. I found that out because he showed up at the house 3 hours later. No luggage this time, no smirk, no attitude, just wrinkled clothes and red eyes. I didn't invite him in. You can't keep me out of my own house, he said quietly. It's half mine for now. He stepped inside anyway. We stood in the same kitchen where he'd announced his Vegas surprise. It felt smaller now. I talked to the public defender, he said. She said if I plead and cooperate, it might be reduced. That's between you and the state. He looked at me like he was searching for any sign of softness. You really filed? Yes. He nodded slowly. Riley filed an annulment. Of course she did. He swallowed hard. She blocked me. I didn't expect you to marry her like that, I replied. Silence. Then he said the thing I think he'd been building towards since Sunday. I thought you'd protect me. There it was again. Not love, not remorse, expectation. I looked at him carefully. You thought I'd shield you from consequences. You're my wife. You made someone else your wife. His eyes welled up, but there was no performance left. Just exhaustion. I was drunk. I was stupid. I wanted attention. I didn't think it through. You didn't think I'd leave. That landed. He didn't deny it. 9 years, he whispered. 9 years, and this is how it ends. No, I said. It ended when you decided vows were optional. He sank into one of the kitchen chairs. I ruined everything. Yes. The word hung there between us. Not cruel, just accurate. He looked up at me one last time. Do you hate me? No. That surprised him. Then what? I don't trust you. And without trust, there is no marriage. That was the cleanest truth in the room. He nodded slowly. The arrogance was gone. The edge was gone. All that was left was a man who mistook impulsivity for invincibility. I walked to the hallway and handed him a folder. What's this? Temporary separation agreement, asset division draft, my attorney's contact information for service. He stared at it. This is really happening. Yes. He stood up, walked to the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I still love you. I held his gaze calmly. That's not the problem. He left. The house went quiet again. A week later, his arraignment date was set. A month later, the divorce proceedings formally began. Riley's annulment went through quickly. Mason now had one marriage again, just not with me. Vegas wasn't a joke, it was a decision. And decisions have consequences. That's the whole story.